Jae Sung had been working in the oxygen recycling station for the past 8 hours straight. His muscles were tired, and his back felt stiff from bending over the machinery. The human colony on Kepler 442b was not the most comfortable place to live, but it was home. The planet's gravity was slightly different from Earth, and the air was always a little dry. Everything about the environment pushed the human body to its limits. The worker wiped sweat from his forehead as he completed his shift. It was late afternoon in the colony's time cycle, and most of the other workers had already left for the day. Jae Sung decided to walk to the common room to grab some water and rest before heading back to his living quarters. The metal corridors of the colony hummed with the sound of machines working to keep everyone alive. As he walked through the hallway, a strange feeling started in the middle of his back. It was an itch, not a small one, but a real one that made him want to scratch it immediately. He rubbed his back against the wall, but it did not help much. The colony's standard work suit was thick and designed to protect against harsh conditions, so scratching through it was almost impossible. When Jae Sung reached the common room, he saw that Minji was working at her communications station. Minji was the colony's main communications officer, and she was always busy keeping in touch with Earth and the other stations in space. She looked up from her work and smiled at him, but then quickly turned her attention back to her screens. The itch on Jae Sung's back was getting worse. He decided to remove his suit jacket and try to scratch properly. He walked over to the heavy metal door frame that led into the storage area. The frame was made of reinforced titanium, one of the strongest metals they had brought from Earth. Jae Sung pressed his back against the cold metal edge and started to scratch. It felt amazing. His entire body relaxed as the itch finally got the attention it needed. What Jae Sung did not know was that his suit was made with special materials. These materials had conductive properties, which meant they could carry electricity. When his suit rubbed against the titanium doorframe at just the right angle and with just the right pressure, something strange happened. A massive static charge built up. The dry air in the colony, combined with the mineral-rich dust from Kepler 442b that had settled on his suit, created the perfect conditions for an electromagnetic event. As Jae Sung continued to scratch his back, he felt the metal grow slightly warmer. He thought it was just his imagination, but in reality, an enormous amount of electrical energy was building up between his suit and the doorframe. The titanium was conducting this energy, and the minerals in the dust were amplifying it. The whole situation was like a natural disaster waiting to happen, but it was caused by something as simple as a man scratching an itch. Inside the monitoring station that orbited above the colony, the sensors suddenly went crazy. Dr. K-In was watching the human settlement from his observation post. He was a representative of the Galactic Peacekeeping Alliance, sent to keep an eye on humanity and make sure they were not developing any dangerous weapons or technology. His species, the Zethians, had advanced technology that could detect almost any kind of energy release in a large area. K-In was looking at his screens when they all turned bright red. Every single alert system in the station started screaming at the same time. The sound was so loud that other officers had to cover their ears. The readings showed a massive energy spike coming from inside the human colony. The numbers were incredible. According to the instruments, the humans had just released enough energy to power a small city for a whole year. "What is happening?" K-In shouted to his team. The other officers were running around frantically, trying to figure out what was going on. "Is it a weapon? Are they attacking something?" One of the junior officers looked at the data more carefully. "The energy spike came from inside the colony itself, sir. It looks like it came from the common area. The readings suggest an electromagnetic pulse of massive proportions." K-In's heart started beating faster. He had been studying humanity for 2 years now, and they had seemed like a peaceful, simple species. They had only recently learned how to travel between planets. They had no weapons that should be capable of creating such power. But now, according to his instruments, they had just demonstrated something that could be incredibly dangerous. Back in the colony, Jae-sung finally pulled his back away from the doorframe. The itch was completely gone now. He felt satisfied and relaxed. He did not notice that some small sparks had jumped from the doorframe to his suit just seconds before. Those sparks had traveled through the conductive materials and discharged into the ground, releasing the built-up electrical energy. Minji was still sitting at her communication station when the alarm started going off. Her screens lit up with warning messages. The power flickered for a moment, then came back. She jumped to her feet, startled by the noise and the sudden chaos. "Jae-sung, what did you do?" Minji called out, looking at him with wide eyes. Jae-sung looked confused. He had only scratched his back. How could that cause any kind of emergency? He opened his mouth to explain, but before he could say anything, the alarms got even louder. Throughout the entire colony, every alert system that had been installed to warn about dangers started screaming. The lights flashed red. The alarm bells rang in every section. The humans working in the colony had trained for emergencies, but they had never heard all the alarms go off at exactly the same time. It was terrifying. Commander Yoon-ho was in the main control room when the alerts started. He immediately tried to figure out what was happening. He checked the systems one by one, looking for any kind of emergency. A fire? No. A breach in the walls? No. An attack? Nothing showed up on any of the sensors, but the Galactic Peacekeeping Alliance was picking up the signal from high above. In their monitoring station, K-In was already making decisions. He looked at the energy readings again. This was a major incident. Humanity might be more advanced than anyone had thought. They might be developing secret weapons. K-In made a decision that would change everything. He sent out a message across the galaxy. It was a warning to all the major spacefaring species. It said that humanity might be developing dangerous technology and that everyone should be careful. Inside the colony, Jae-sung was still standing by the doorframe, completely confused about what had just happened. His back felt much better now. The itch was gone. He had no idea that his simple action, his small moment of relief from discomfort, had just caused every alert system in the colony to activate and sent out a warning across the entire galaxy. The universe had just received notice that humanity was something to worry about. But the truth was much simpler than anyone could have imagined. The message from the Galactic Peacekeeping Alliance spread through space faster than light through special communication networks. Within hours, military ships from different species started moving toward Kepler 442b. The human colony had no idea that they were about to be surrounded by an alien force. Commander Yoon-ho was still trying to find the source of the alarm when his communication officer, Min-ji, came running into the control room. Her face was pale and worried. She had been monitoring the galaxy-wide communications channels, and she had picked up something alarming. "Commander, we have a serious problem," Min-ji said, her voice shaking slightly. "The Alliance is sending ships to our location, multiple species. They think we have activated some kind of weapon." Yoon-ho looked at her in disbelief. "A weapon? We do not have any weapons. What are they talking about?" Min-ji explained what she had heard on the communication channels. The Alliance had picked up a massive energy reading from the colony. They had interpreted it as proof that humanity was developing dangerous military technology. Now they wanted to investigate. Several alien species were moving their ships toward the planet. Some were sending military vessels, which suggested they might be ready for a fight. Yoon-ho immediately called Jae-sung and Da-yeon to the control room. He needed to figure out what had caused the alarm. Both of them had been in the common area when it happened. They might have information that could help. When they arrived, Yoon-ho asked them directly, "What happened? What did you do to trigger all the alarms?" Jae-sung felt embarrassed. He could not tell his commander that he had simply been scratching his back. It sounded ridiculous, but he had to tell the truth. He explained that he had an itch and rubbed his back against the metal door frame in the common room. Dayan started to giggle, but she stopped when she saw the serious expression on Yunho's face. No one was laughing now. The commander was trying to understand how scratching a back could possibly cause such a massive energy release. The technical team tried to explain the science. The suit material was conductive, the door frame was titanium, the dust particles from the planet had specific mineral properties, the dry air created perfect conditions for static electricity to build up. When all these factors combined, a huge electromagnetic pulse was generated. It was an accident, but it was a very powerful accident. Yunho realized they had a major credibility problem. If he told the Alliance the truth, they would not believe him. Who would accept that a colony of humans had accidentally created a weapon by scratching an itch? It sounded impossible. It sounded like a lie. It sounded like the humans were trying to hide something. Meanwhile, in his observation station, K-In was receiving more information. His sensors had detected the exact location of the energy release. It came from the common area of the colony. He did not understand why the humans would put a weapon in their common area, where workers would walk around freely. It did not make sense from a military strategy perspective. K-In decided that the best course of action would be to send a diplomatic mission to the colony. He would go down to the planet himself and speak with the human leaders. He would demand an explanation. If they refused to cooperate, the Alliance would take action. The Zethian diplomat arrived at the colony the next day. He was a tall being with blue skin and 3 arms. His appearance was intimidating, even though he had not come to fight. He walked into the main conference room where Yunho, Minji, and several other colony leaders were waiting. K-In spoke in a calm voice, but his words carried weight. "We have detected an enormous energy release from your colony. The Galactic Peacekeeping Alliance believes that you have activated a powerful weapon or defense system. We are here to understand what you have done and to ensure that you will not be a threat to the galaxy." Yunho took a deep breath. He decided to tell the truth, even if it sounded crazy. "There is no weapon, Diplomat K-In. The energy release was accidental. It was caused by friction between conductive materials and static electricity. A worker was scratching an itch against a metal doorframe. That is all." K-In stared at him for a long moment. His 3 eyes blinked slowly, one at a time. It was a Zethian way of showing confusion or disbelief. "You expect me to believe that an accidental scratch caused a massive electromagnetic pulse? The readings we received were equivalent to a small nuclear explosion. You are either lying to me or you do not understand the power of what you have created," K-In said. Minji jumped in to help explain. "We are telling you the truth. We have a scientist, Sun Ai, who has analyzed the incident. The combination of our suit materials, the planet's minerals, and the humidity created a perfect storm for static electricity. In normal circumstances, it would not happen. But in this one specific moment, all the factors aligned perfectly." K-In was not convinced. In his experience with other alien species, powerful weapons were always created intentionally. The idea that humans had stumbled upon something this powerful by accident seemed unlikely. It made him suspicious that they were hiding the truth. "I want to see this door frame," K-In demanded. "I want to see the exact location where this supposed accident happened." Yunho agreed. They walked through the colony corridors with the Zethian diplomat. When they reached the common room, the metal door frame was still there, looking completely normal. There were no visible signs of the massive energy that had been released just hours before. K-In ran his instruments over the frame and the surrounding area. His readings confirmed what the humans had told him. The energy signature was still present in the metal and on the ground. It was consistent with a massive discharge, but it did not make sense to him. "This is very strange," Kayin said, thinking to himself. "If this was truly an accident, then humanity is either very lucky or very dangerous. Either way, the Alliance needs to take precautions." Back in his station, Kayin reported what he had found to the Alliance leadership. The humans claimed the power release was accidental, but whether it was accidental or intentional, one fact remained clear. Humans could cause enormous destruction without even trying. That made them unpredictable. That made them a concern. The Alliance decided to maintain their position near the planet. They would send more observers. They would study humanity more carefully. They would prepare for any possibility. The galaxy had received a wake-up call, and humanity had no idea how much attention they were about to receive. Jae-sung, meanwhile, went back to his job in the oxygen recycling station. He still did not fully understand what had happened. All he knew was that his back had itched, he had scratched it, and then the entire universe had gone crazy. He tried not to think about it too much. But Da-yeon would not let him forget. She kept laughing about the incident whenever she saw him. "The man who scratched the galaxy awake," she would say with a smile. The situation became more complicated with each passing day. More alien ships arrived near Kepler 442b. Some came from species that the Alliance controlled. Others came from independent civilizations that had heard the news and wanted to see what humanity was capable of. The human colony was becoming the center of attention across the entire galaxy. Kayin remained in his observation station, but he was no longer alone. Representatives from dozens of alien species were joining him. Some wanted to study humans. Others wanted to make sure humanity was not a threat. A few wanted to figure out how to steal this new weapon technology for themselves. Commander Yun-ho received a formal message from Kayin. It was not a request, it was a demand. The Galactic Peacekeeping Alliance wanted a demonstration. They wanted to see what humanity's power really was. They wanted proof that the humans could control their weapon, or at least that they could activate it again on command. "This is impossible," Yun-ho said to Min-ji and Sun-ae when they met in his office. "We cannot demonstrate something that we do not control. We cannot simply order Jae-sung to scratch his back and expect the same results." Sun-ae, the colony's chief scientist, had been working on the problem non-stop. She had run countless simulations and experiments. "The conditions have to be exactly right," she explained. "The humidity has to be at a certain level. The dust particles from outside have to be present. The temperature has to fall within a specific range. Jae-sung's suit has to rub against the doorframe at just the right angle and speed. The chance of it happening again naturally is almost zero." But Kayin did not care about explanations. He had given them an ultimatum. If humanity could not demonstrate their power, the Alliance would assume they were lying and would take action. The military ships in orbit would move in closer. There might even be a preemptive strike. "We have to try," Min-ji said. "Even if it fails, we have to show that we are trying to cooperate." Yun-ho made a difficult decision. He called Jae-sung to his office. The engineer was nervous about being called to see the commander. He had no idea what was coming. "Jae-sung, the entire galaxy is waiting to see what you can do," Yun-ho said seriously. "The Alliance wants you to demonstrate your power. They want you to recreate the incident from before." Jae-sung looked confused. "But sir, I did not do anything special. I was just scratching my back. I did not even know it would cause anything." "I know," Yun-ho said, "but we need you to try to do it again. Everything depends on this. The future of our colony might depend on your cooperation." Jae-sung agreed, though he had serious doubts about whether he could make it happen again. The colony prepared for the demonstration. Sun-ae set up all her equipment to measure the energy release. Scientists positioned instruments around the common room. The entire colony gathered to watch. In the observation station above, every camera was pointed at the human settlement. Jae-sung walked into the common room in his work suit. The humidity had been adjusted to match the conditions from the first incident as closely as possible. The temperature was controlled. Everything had been prepared carefully. He approached the metal doorframe. K-In and dozens of other aliens watched from above, holding their breath. This moment would determine whether humanity was genuinely dangerous or not. Jae-Sung began to scratch his back against the doorframe. He did it slowly, trying to remember exactly what it had felt like the first time. The metal was cold against his suit. He could feel the familiar itch on his back starting to fade. For a moment, nothing happened. The instruments did not move. The meters did not spike. People in the common room started to whisper, wondering if the demonstration would be a failure. Then, suddenly, something changed. Jae-Sung felt the metal under his back start to warm up. The friction was building up. The static electricity was accumulating again. And then, all at once, a bright blue spark jumped from the doorframe to his suit. The spark was visible to everyone. It was bright and powerful. Then, another spark followed. And another. Within seconds, a small storm of electrical energy was dancing between Jae-Sung's suit and the titanium doorframe. In the observation station above, the sensors went crazy again. The readings were just as massive as the first time. Alarms went off. Lights flashed. The alien observers gasped in shock. They had just seen a human deliberately create an enormous amount of power through nothing more than physical contact with metal. Jae-Sung pulled away from the doorframe and the sparks stopped. He was safe. His suit had protected him from the electrical charge. He looked around the common room, confused by the shocked expressions on everyone's faces. The demonstration was a complete success, but it created an even bigger problem. Before, the aliens could have believed that the humans had accidentally created a weapon. Now they had seen that humans could deliberately make it happen. Now they knew that humans could control it. K-In stared at his screens in amazement. "This is incredible," he said to his team. "Humanity has mastered a form of energy generation that most civilizations require massive infrastructure to create. The human did it with nothing but his body and simple friction." The message spread across the galaxy faster than before. Humanity was not just a threat. Humanity was a civilization with access to incredible power. Species that had been neutral before now became very interested. Some were afraid, some were impressed, some saw humans as potential allies or enemies. Back in the colony, Yunho put his face in his hands. The demonstration had worked, but it had made things worse, not better. Now the galaxy thought humans were intentionally keeping this power secret. Now the galaxy thought humans understood exactly what they were doing. Sun A was the only one who seemed calm. She smiled and said, "Well, at least they know we are not lying. The question is what they do with this information now." That night, as Jae-Sung lay in his bed, he still did not fully understand what had happened. He had scratched his back twice, and now the entire universe was talking about him. He wondered if he would ever have a normal day again. After the successful demonstration, everything changed. The colony was now under intense observation from dozens of alien species. News networks across the galaxy were talking about humanity nonstop. Scientists from different civilizations wanted to study the humans. Military strategists were trying to figure out how to defend themselves against this new threat. K-In requested a formal meeting with Yunho and the colony leaders. This time, he did not come alone. Representatives from 5 different major species joined him in the conference room. They all wanted answers. "Your species possesses a remarkable ability," one alien representative said. It was a being made of crystalline structures that seemed to float in the air. "We would like to understand this technology better. Perhaps we can form an alliance." Another representative, a large insectoid creature, simply said, "Humans are dangerous. They must be controlled or eliminated." Yunho realized that the situation was spinning out of control. The galaxy had completely misunderstood what humanity was. They thought humans had advanced military technology when the truth was far simpler and, in some ways, far more embarrassing. He made a decision. He called for Sune, the colony's chief scientist, to come to the meeting. If anyone could explain the truth clearly, it would be her. Sune walked into the conference room carrying her research data and equipment. She looked small compared to the massive alien beings, but she spoke with confidence and authority. "What you saw was not a weapon," Sune began. "It was an accident that became repeatable under specific conditions. Let me explain the science." She showed them the measurements and data from her research. She explained how human suits had conductive properties. She explained how the titanium door frame worked as a conductor. She explained how the minerals in the dust from Kepler 442b enhanced the static electricity effect. She explained how the humidity and temperature had to be in exact ranges for the phenomenon to occur. The human in question did not develop this technology, Sune said clearly. He simply scratched an itch on his back. The rest happened due to coincidence and environmental factors. We humans did not even know this could happen until it did. The crystalline representative seemed to absorb this information, literally shimmering as it processed the data. The insectoid creature clicked its parts together, making a sound that might have been laughter or might have been anger. Kayin looked at the other representatives and said, "If this is true, then we have made a serious error. We have threatened a peaceful colony based on a misunderstanding." "But the demonstration," one of the other aliens said. "The human deliberately created the energy release. That proves intentional control." Sune nodded. "Yes, we demonstrated that it could happen again. But that does not mean we understand it well enough to use it as a weapon. In fact, we have no idea how to harness this energy for any practical use. It simply happens, and then it is gone. We cannot store it. We cannot direct it. We cannot even predict exactly when it will occur." She pulled up more data showing her experiments. Every time Jae-sung had tried to recreate the effect in controlled laboratory conditions, it had failed. The only successful incidents had occurred in the colony's common room, with those exact environmental conditions. "This is a phenomenon, not a technology," Sune explained. "It is like if your scientists discovered that your species could accidentally create earthquakes by walking in a certain way. It happens, but you have no control over it. You do not understand it completely. You cannot replicate it anywhere but in one specific location." The representatives looked at each other. The implications were starting to become clear. Humanity had not developed a weapon. Humanity had stumbled upon something that seemed incredibly powerful, but was actually impossible to control or weaponize. "So humans are not as dangerous as we thought?" the crystalline being asked. "Humans might actually be more dangerous," Sune said quietly, "because they do not understand what they are doing. They could cause this energy release at any time, in any place, without even intending to. If humans had this same conductive suit, and if they were in a place with the right environmental conditions, the same thing could happen anywhere in the galaxy." This statement caused a moment of silence in the conference room. The realization was sinking in. Humans were unpredictable. Humans could cause massive problems without even knowing they were doing it. Humans were, in fact, a wild card that no one could account for. Kayin stood up. "I must inform the Alliance leadership of this situation. Humanity is not a threat in the traditional sense, but humanity is unpredictable in a way that other species are not. I recommend that we classify humans as a protected species, but with certain restrictions." "What kind of restrictions?" Yunho asked carefully. "Humans should not be allowed to travel freely to other worlds without warning. Humans should not be permitted to wear the same type of conductive suit material in places where it could be dangerous. Humans should be studied carefully to understand if there are other accidental capabilities we have not discovered yet," Kayin said. Over the next few days, formal agreements were made. The Galactic Peacekeeping Alliance agreed to recognize humanity as a young species with unique and unpredictable characteristics. They would not attack the colony. They would allow humanity to continue developing peacefully. But they would also watch humanity very carefully. They would study humans. They would document everything humans did. And they would prepare for anything unexpected. Jae-sung was brought back to the meeting one more time. The alien representatives wanted to see him in person. They wanted to understand what it was like to possess such a remarkable accidental ability. He stood before them, feeling small and confused. "I am just a worker," Jae-sung said. "I did not do anything special. I just wanted to scratch my back." One of the aliens asked, "What does it feel like when you activate the energy release?" Jae-sung thought about it carefully. "It just feels warm," he said honestly. "And then there are sparks. But mostly I was just trying to stop an itch. I do not feel special. I do not feel powerful. I just feel normal." This simple answer seemed to impact the aliens more than any scientific explanation had. They realized that humans might be the most dangerous species in the galaxy, not because they were intentionally powerful, but because they had no idea how powerful they actually were. The meeting ended. The representatives left to report back to their various governments. The military ships in orbit began to stand down. The crisis had passed, but the situation had changed forever. Yoon-ho sat in his office with Min-ji and Sune after everyone had left. They were exhausted but relieved. "We are going to be famous now," Min-ji said. "Humans are going to be known across the galaxy, and it is all because one man had an itchy back." "Not just famous," Sune said thoughtfully. "Respected, maybe even feared, not because of what we have accomplished, but because of what we might accidentally do." That night, Yoon-ho sent a message to Earth. He explained the situation as clearly as possible. He told them that humanity had gained the attention of the entire galaxy. He did not know how Earth would react to the news. But he knew that nothing would ever be quite the same again. News about humanity spread across the entire galaxy within weeks. The story of how a simple scratch had caused massive energy releases and captured the attention of the Galactic Peacekeeping Alliance became famous everywhere. But the story changed as it was told and retold by different species. Some aliens told the story as a tale of humans who had secretly developed a weapon. Other aliens described humans as brilliant scientists who had discovered something amazing. A few species told stories about humans as unpredictable warriors who could destroy anything accidentally. The truth was lost somewhere in all the retellings. What remained was a reputation. Humanity was dangerous. Humanity was powerful. Humanity was something to be careful about. Merchants from different alien species started requesting human consultants for their projects. One species was building a new power plant and wanted humans to advise them, hoping to learn the secret of human energy generation. Another species had discovered strange phenomena in their own colonies and wanted humans to investigate, thinking humans might understand accidental power releases better than anyone else. A mining company from a distant galaxy sent an official request to the colony. They wanted to hire humans to help them with a technical problem. They were willing to pay a huge amount of credits. They believed humans had developed some kind of advanced understanding of physics that other species had not achieved. Yoon-ho had to carefully explain to each request that humans had no secret knowledge. Humans did not understand what had happened. Humans had simply gotten lucky in a very specific way, but the galaxy was not interested in the truth. The galaxy had already made up its mind. Humans were mysterious. Humans were brilliant. Humans were dangerous in ways that other species were not. Dayan and Min-ji found the whole situation amusing. They started joking about what other accidental abilities humans might have. "Maybe if we run fast enough, we will create a hurricane," Dayan would say. "Maybe if we sing loud enough, we will cause an earthquake," Min-ji would add. But Jae-sung did not find it funny. He felt embarrassed and awkward about being the center of all this attention. He was just a maintenance worker. He did not want to be famous. He did not want to be the reason that the entire galaxy was watching humanity with nervous eyes. One day, Jae-sung received a message from Earth. It was from the government. They had been informed about his accidental discovery. They wanted him to come home and tell the story to the entire world. He would become a hero. Jae-sung did not want to be a hero. He wanted to go back to fixing machines and living his simple life. But he knew he did not have a choice. The message was official. He had to return to Earth. Before he left, he had a conversation with Sun A. She was still studying the phenomenon, trying to understand it more completely. "I feel like I have caused trouble for humanity," Jae-sung said sadly. "If I had not scratched my back that day, everything would have been normal." Sune shook her head. "No, Jae-sung. You did not cause trouble. You revealed something about humanity that was always there. The universe was going to learn about us eventually. You just made it happen sooner, and in a way that is completely honest." "But they think we are more advanced than we are," Jae-sung said. "They think we have powers we do not have. We are lying to the galaxy, even if we are not trying to." "We are not lying," Suni said firmly. "We showed them the truth. The fact that they misinterpreted the truth is not our fault. We explained the science. We told them it was an accident. If they choose to believe that we are secretly brilliant and dangerous, that is their choice, not ours." Jae-sung felt slightly better after talking with Sune, but he was still nervous about going to Earth. Meanwhile, on other worlds throughout the galaxy, humans had started to become fashionable. Other species wanted to hire humans for important projects. They wanted human advisors for their governments. They wanted human scientists working in their research facilities. But not all the attention was positive. Some species became afraid of humans. They started putting restrictions on where humans could travel. They required special permissions for humans to enter their space. A few species even refused to allow humans on their worlds at all, fearing what might happen if humans accidentally caused another massive energy release. The Galactic Peacekeeping Alliance had to create new protocols for dealing with humanity. They established special rules about what equipment humans could wear in certain locations. They required humans to notify authorities before visiting new worlds. They created monitoring stations to keep track of human activities. It was becoming clear that humanity had a new position in the galaxy. Humans were not feared like aggressive military powers were feared. Instead, humans were respected and cautious about, like a young child who might accidentally break something valuable. Humans were treated as interesting and mysterious, even though humans had done nothing to deserve this reputation. Some alien species started studying human culture, looking for clues about what made humans so special. They read human books and watched human movies. They tried to understand human art and music. They thought that somewhere in human culture, there must be a secret that explained humanity's incredible power. They found no such secret. But they became fascinated with humans anyway. K-In, the Zethian diplomat, had returned to the colony several times. He had developed something that might have been friendship with Yun-ho. The two commanders would meet and talk about how the situation had developed. "Your species is unique," K-In told Yun-ho during one of their meetings. "You have achieved something that most civilizations work for thousands of years to accomplish. You have done it accidentally, through a simple action. The galaxy respects humans now, even if humans do not fully understand why." "Is that respect or fear?" Yun-ho asked. "Perhaps it is both," K-In said thoughtfully. "Respect for what humans can do, mixed with fear about what humans might do without meaning to." Jae-sung left for Earth on a special transport ship. He was the most famous human who had never tried to be famous. He was a hero to a galaxy that had no idea what it was celebrating. As the ship left the colony, Jae-sung looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, aliens were talking about him. Somewhere out there, species were making decisions about humanity based on something as simple as a scratch. He thought about his itch, and he could not help but wonder. If scratching his back had changed the entire galaxy's view of humanity, what other simple actions might have similar effects? The thought was both exciting and terrifying. The colony continued its work, watched carefully by the galaxy. Humans had stepped onto the stage of galactic civilization, not with weapons or speeches, but with an accidental demonstration of something no one fully understood. And that was enough to make humanity matter.